peaceful solitude of God. Deep within is the silence of God, the solitude of God, the peace of God, the wisdom of God. It's all deep within, waiting to be met. And every day brings beliefs to your awareness that can, when they are let go, when they are surrendered, they open doors and they direct you to the next understanding, the next learning. It's a constant schoolroom, really, in every single way, to have the blessing to be aware that the little life that you led as an identity with the beliefs in place was so small in its identity, not bad, not good, but just settled for. And I'm pretty clear that in everyone's journey, there is a lot of actual disturbance that begins very early. The disturbance is, in a way, legitimate because it says, I don't fit here. I don't fit here. And if you imagine that everybody is saying the same thing, there's another existence, and that stays just right out of awareness, because the busyness of the mind, the busyness of the ego mind is busy making an identity. And so the attention is wanted on the identity. But every once in a while, there's a place within that can be startling, that says, this isn't true. This is too strange. This is too little. Every once in a while, you feel the touch of another world, another existence that is real. And sometimes even some will fantasize in that littleness, in that false identity, and fantasize that something's just going to shift all of a sudden and you're going to see it differently. But the identity keeps building and keeps building and keeps building. The knower keeps building the fortress and building the identity. But now is the time when you have touched that spark of discovering love, discovering God, discovering your true self, and finally being able to say, I can't abide by this old identity anymore. It's just too ridiculous. It has no reality to your true being. And it's not hatred that comes. Hatred was already there for the old identity. The hatred of the ego that disguises itself in fear. Fear is the disguise. Hatred is the self identity. And the fear is believed. The fear is given a wide, wide space. Because when the fear shows up, gotta listen, gotta quake, gotta shake, and follow. When fear comes up, it's seen as real. It's seen as legitimate, authentic, needing a remedy of some kind. Except that the remedies of the world can't stop fear. It builds fear. The remedy is in the truth of love, the teachings of love, the vibration of all the teachings that actually vibrate through your whole system and will break apart the lies of fear. Not through the mind, not through your knowing, not through your assessing, through the quiet. And that's where love takes you, into the quiet, to meet yourself, to meet the true self, to meet truth, so that you can see it everywhere, because it's what you are. The journey of love is the release of and the denial of fear. Everybody dances with it, everybody plays a game with it, and everybody believes it to be real. And yet the whole journey is really the refusal, the refusal of what you think you know, of your identity, of the story, of the assessments of the world. It's all letting it all go and coming into the silence of love, where your mind is put aside and you sink. There's a place within you that is the garden of love. And the whole journey is to meet in that garden of love and to rest there and enjoy the garden that love has made. It has nothing to do with the mind. It has everything to do with the mind of God, but it has nothing to do with the mind of your making. The mind that the ego has made is devoid of a garden. It just deals with judgment and conclusions. But love keeps calling. I don't know that I've ever sung this hymn in this setting. There were two hymns that Jose received that, and because I had always a really crummy memory, I didn't remember the hymns, their location, where they started, where they finished, nothing. I had to read and look at the words all the time. The first hymn of Jose's that said, your connection to the divine is open when you're willing to receive a hymn. It's sometimes the first place that shows up of being quiet enough, ready enough, willing enough to receive a teaching that is for humanity. So Jose received a hymn number 2, and it's somebody had to tell me that when I received the hymn Mother, Oh My Mother, that it was actually the same tune, that the same tune had come through. I didn't know it because I didn't know the hymn. But those messages, they're messages that say, keep going deeper. You're touching into another dimension, a dimension where you belong. It's opening to the dimension of God and getting out of the shallow dimension of the world that we walk in. And then Jose received another hymn way before I was there. And it also carried the same tune as another hymn that I carried that brought itself through. And again, all that it says is pay attention to the mysteries of the universe of love. Connect, open to the communion, and step away from the agreements from the past that keep you chained in a way to this dimension. Accept that there are valid dimensions of love that are wanting to take you and show you deeper truth. My Father is here now. My Father has arrived. Hallelujah, hallelujah to the divine Creator. I'm your child, and I am here to receive you. I offer to my Father all that is myself. I give Vivas to Jesus. I give Vivas to my Father. I give Vivas to my mother and to the Holy Army. It's the holy light, which comes to illuminate, transforming and bringing joy, so we may know how to love. I surrender, always loving you. I surrender, always praising you. I place my heart on your sacred altar. I surrender, always loving you. Is that what's in your heart? Because that is the medicine. That is the transformational place that allows the illusion to finally fall away. Always loving you. Are those words in your heart? Do you wake up to those words? I surrender, always loving you, because that's what I'm here to learn. Nothing else. So in the prayer, again, looking deeply into prayer and the realization that prayer is your friend, it is your bridge, it is the truth, and it will take your mind and bring it back to sanity. Because while you're thinking your thoughts, your personal thoughts, I know this, I know this, I observe this, I attempt this, I assess this, all of that keeps you from love. And every prayer brings you back to the sanity. To, it will become in your awareness that there is a prayer for every moment. I'm washing the dishes, God. I'm right here. I'm talking to you right now. The dishes don't matter. I'm just here in love. Let me sing you a new hymn that I think came from your kingdom. Or let me remember a hymn and sing it to you. Is it that intimate? Yes, it is. It's an intimacy that has to be learned. And in order for it to be learned, the quiet is needed and the willingness. I look deep into my heart to the core where wisdom arises. Wisdom comes from the unnameable and unifies heaven and earth. The unnameable is always with you, shining from the depths of your heart. God's peace will keep you untroubled even in the greatest pain. When you find Him present within you, you find truth at every moment. He will guard you from all mistakes. He will guide your feet on His exquisite path. He will temper your youth with patience, and He will crown your old age with fulfillment. And dying, you will leave your body as effortlessly as a sigh. I look deep into my heart. It's such an essential coming home, to be in that quiet of looking deeply into your heart, to the core where wisdom arises. But that core where wisdom arises, what it really needs is the quiet non-judgment of peace. That's where you meet the center of love without judgment. You can't bring judgment. Imagine that you go into a meditation in your breathing because you want to breathe in order to go deeply, so you're breathing. And all the while there's just thoughts running. How long is this going to take? How long am I supposed to do this? I wonder how many minutes have gone by so far. My breathing isn't very deep. Well, I can sit here for a couple more minutes and then I'll get back to my normal life. Instead of going deep, 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 deep into the quiet, where the wisdom arises. The unnameable is always with you. There's no dispute here. Whether you are able to go into that quiet place and meet the power of the divine, or you're just holding the space until you finally can dip down into that quiet. But you put your faith in the unnameable that is always with you. And you answer to that power. You don't answer to the power of the rules of the world. You don't answer to time. You don't answer to right or wrong or good and bad. You answer to the divine. You don't answer to teachers that might take you in a different direction. You don't answer to parents that may or may not still be in a body. You don't answer to bosses. Your authority is God. You answer and you receive the guidance that is always there for you from the power of the universe, the power of creation. And when you accept that divine authority of love to lead you, to give you knowledge, and as you are given knowledge, all the garbage that we made up starts to go out of the mind because has to there has to be a space for the truth. And it's a glad goodbye. Thank God that garbage is going because all it does is drive me crazy. It's it's a it's an essential place within to realize that the thoughts the thoughts that I carried were insane. It was really insanity. Everything was upside down. And it was no different than anybody else, but it was insane. And to come to the truth of sanity is the blessing of the prayer and the yes that you are holding in your heart in silence. A guide has entered this life, your life, in silence. His message is only heard in silence. So, what are you going to do with all those thoughts? Can you put them into the bonfire of love and empty the silence of the mind and wait to be shown the way? His message is heard only in silence. Take a sip of his precious wine and lose yourself. Lose yourself in love. Don't insult the greatness of his love, for he helps all those who suffer. He helps them in silence. Polish the mirror between the breaths. Go with him beyond words. He knows your every deed. He is the one who moves the wheel of heaven in silence. Every thought is buried in your heart. He will reveal them one by one in silence. Turn each of your thoughts into a bird and let them fly to the other world. One is an owl, one is a falcon, one is a crow. Each one is different from the others, but they are all the same in silence. To see the moon that cannot be seen, turn your eyes inward and look at yourself in silence. In this world and the next, don't talk about this and that. Let him show you everything shining as one in silence. In silence. It is so essential. It's only essential because the mind of the ego is so continuously active with just stuff. But it all being judgment, it all being assessments and figuring things out like that all day long, trying to figure things out and getting exhausted because you're really, your resting place is in silence, the inner silence of peace, of harmony. To see the moon that cannot be seen, turn your eyes inward. I love that. Turn your eyes inward because it really is a turning of your eyes inwardly. Not that you're going to see body parts. It's not about that inward. It's about the silent, quiet place where you can finally hear the the vibration of love. Whether it takes 2 hours or whether it takes 50 years, what difference does it make? You will find the voice of God within. The patience is absolutely necessary because you haven't been there before. The idea that there is some kind of pattern that you can, that you decide is enough time or not enough time is just fabricated. Don't don't put yourself through the insanity of trying to figure out how to get into the silence. Just if you can give a minute, a half a minute to having no opinion, no thought, no assessment, no observation, no reaction, no feeling that hooks on to the mind and then takes your attention into that. Just staying in that neutral place of resting in God, in the silence. It's important. It's not just important. It's essential that at some point in the silence that you finally meet that place that has no judgment, that doesn't know. That's that's your heart. That's your center. That's the truth of God that is resting in your heart. It is who and what you are. But with the mind's constant chatter and the conditioning of judgment that says, I know this, I know this, I know this, I know what this is, I know what this is, I know what the silence is lost until you can find that 1 minute and invite the divine again and again and again and again and again until you give up all your ideas and just rest in God's hand. Rest in the truth of love, where there's nothing to know. There's no, you're not bringing back a story about your travels. It's beyond, it's beyond the story. It's beyond anything that your mind can conjure up. As soon as the mind comes in to make sense of touching that quiet place, it's gone because you brought the ego back and gave it to the ego with the idea of it. It's to stay in the not knowing. Mind wants to come in and have an opinion about something. No, I don't know a thing. I don't know how. I don't know. Just there's nothing to know. And in that nothing to know, that's that's where love begins to show itself. If you took every beloved that's been in this world that has been either a recognized saint of any kind, so you take St. Francis, you take Gandhi, you take Martin Luther King, you take all of the saints that have walked as teachers and learners in this world, take them all. And that perfection, take Jesus, take Mary Magdalene, take Buddha, they have nothing that you don't have. They have nothing in their arsenal of whatever that has anything other than what you have. There is nothing. They had no special gifts. They had no special ways of discovering the silence within. They had no special lives that said, oh, these lives are different. They won't have any fear. No, they all overcame the lies. They all found the silence within through the same journey. Hafiz, 40 years with his teacher. 40 years. Not too much. He knew that this was his lifetime. And he would get frustrated and he would get scared. He had the same fears. He was afraid of death. And he denied all the lies, just like everyone that's walked, denied the lies and accepted the truth and went into silence within. Your divinity, your perfection is no different than any saint who's walked the earth, any teacher who has come to serve humanity. It's letting go of the little life, the littleness, the littleness of your worries, even. They don't feel little when you're worried. They feel like they own you, like you are owned by the past. When you turn to your guide in silence, that can always be healed. The fear of the moment, whatever it is that you have decided is real, you give it to your guide. You give it to the light that has come to serve your remembering. You give it to me, and I'll be happy to turn it into the bonfire of love. It's not a rescue. Nobody can be rescued, but it is a surrender, a deep surrender. of truly wanting peace, of truly wanting harmony and happiness, because it's what you are. You're the light of God. Join the light in the silence, and then it goes with you everywhere. It's going with you everywhere now, but you're not aware of it because there's judgment. Let go of all the judgment, all the assessments, all the curiosity, all the opinions, all the past and the future, and just be here now in the loving silence of one heart.